Hi guys, it's Alicia. Now, one of my favorite fall desserts is Pecan Crunch, or I guess you could call it a pumpkin dump cake, because that's essentially what it is. I love it. I make it pretty much every fall, but this time I'm going to be making it a little more Weight Watcher friendly. I will link the recipe that I typically make down below and up above if you want to see that one. But basically I'm going to be taking that recipe and just making a couple changes to it, and it's going to make it a whole lot more Weight Watcher friendly so that I can eat it this year. So what you're going to start off with is a cake mix. Now, I have never actually used one of these sugar-free cake mixes before, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this, is because I wanted to try this out and see what I think of it, because I've seen a lot of people use these sugar-free cake mixes in different Weight Watcher recipes, so I'm gonna give it a try and see what I think. And it is quite a bit lower in points than the regular cake mix. The regular cake mix, I can't remember how many points it is, but this is 37 for the box, and the regular is probably at least twice that, if not more. So gonna give this a shot and see what I think. If you don't want to use a sugar-free cake mix, you can use a regular cake mix, but you're gonna have to factor more points into this for that. Okay, then you're gonna need a margarine, or I'm using some of this Brummel & Brown made with real yogurt spread. I really like this. I use this for a lot of different things. So you're gonna need a 1/4 cup of a light margarine, or like I said, something like this. Then you're gonna need a 15-ounce can of pumpkin, and you want the just pure pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling that already has seasoning and stuff in it. And then here, I've got a can of fat-free evaporated milk. And then back here in my little nut chopper, I was so excited. I've said this before in one of my videos, but I was so excited when I found this little nut chopper at a antique store, because this is the exact same one that my mom had when I was a kid. So it was really fun to find this in an antique store for $4, so score there. But anyway, back to my ingredients. I have got a 1/2 cup of pecans chopped. Then you're gonna need 1 egg, some pumpkin pie spice, and then here, even though I'm using a sugar-free cake mix, I'm still gonna use regular sugar in my pumpkin, because, I don't know, I just like to use regular sugar. I don't necessarily like the taste of Splenda or the calorie-free sweeteners. So I'm hoping that in the cake mix, it's not gonna be as noticeable and it'll be okay, but yeah, I'm gonna stick to regular sugar in my pumpkin. But you could definitely use a calorie-free sweetener instead of sugar if you want, and that's gonna count, or that's gonna cut off another 24 points, I believe is what this is. But again, it's worth it to me to have the taste of actual sugar in the majority of this dessert. So that's why I'm using the sugar, even though I'm using a sugar-free cake mix. All right, and that is all you're gonna need to make this. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my egg, evaporated milk, sugar, pumpkin pie spice, and I'm using a tablespoon or 3 teaspoons, and my can of pumpkin, and I'm going to just mix that well in a mixer here. Now you can do this by hand if you want, that should be absolutely fine, but I'm gonna mix it until everything is kind of smooth and all incorporated together. Okay, that is looking good. So now I'm gonna take this 13 by 9 inch pan here, and I'm going to just spray it with a little bit of cooking spray, just so this doesn't stick. And then I'm gonna pour this in there. I'm gonna kind of just get that in there evenly. And now I'm gonna take my cake mix and I'm gonna just sprinkle this on the top here as evenly as I can. Okay, I've got that cake mix on there. Now I'm gonna just gently press it down a little bit into the pumpkin. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna take my pecans, I'm gonna sprinkle those evenly on the top. Okay, and then lastly, I'm gonna pour over my margarine. There goes my oven. And now this is ready to bake at 350, and I don't remember if I said you should be preheating your oven. I always forget to say that, sorry. But yeah, you wanna put this in your preheated oven at 350 for about 50 to 60 minutes. I'm just gonna kinda watch it and see how it's looking, but roughly around an hour. But once it is done, I will be back. All right, I let this cook for 50 minutes. And now I'm gonna let it cool down probably for about an hour or so until I cut a piece out of it. But I will be back at that point. Here is a serving of that. And a serving is a 12th, and it is 8 points on all 3 colors, I believe. If that is not correct, I will change it. But I know it's 8 on the green, and I do believe it's 8 on the blue and purple. I went ahead and topped mine with a little bit of whipped cream. Then I just sprinkled a little more pumpkin pie spice on there. And yeah, so if you do that, obviously you're gonna wanna add points to it. But I'm gonna call that like, I don't know, a point or 2 extra for mine. So if you get a plain, it is just 8. I'm gonna have my husband try this. Let me know what he thinks.
Trying to picture that pumpkin. It smells wonderful. So when I met my wife, I wasn't a big fan of pumpkin.
You're still not a big fan of pumpkin, right?
I don't know.
You're growing on you?
Yeah. So you get the pumpkin. It's just like pumpkin pie, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's really good. It's got that pumpkin spice. And then I guess it's the cake mix.
Yeah.
Is that what that is there?
Yeah, there's a cake mix on top.
So I've always been a big fan of that. Like in a cake, if there's like little pockets of cake mix that didn't mix in. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I've always liked that. You know, it's like having a roll be a little doughy in the middle.
Yeah.
So that really appeals to me, and it's got that nice flavor. It adds texture. You know, so it's kind of a little bit of a crunchy layer over the soft pumpkin. Are those pecans?
Those are pecans, yep.
You can taste those. They're not real strong, but you get them every so often, so that's really nice. And then, to me, the best kind of the real fun part of it is you get these little pops of butter, that rich, savory butter with the sweet and the pumpkin spice, and then the whipped cream is very, you know, when you make it, it's always very subtle. So you have the dairy, but it's got the real subtle sweetness. So this is just fantastic. It's a really nice mix of all those different flavors that I described.
Cool. So I'm converting you into a pumpkin person, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Slowly but surely.
Just like bulldogs.
Hi, Bella. You look like a pumpkin.
Except for yesterday.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that, do we?
We don't talk about that. Now, the one thing I would say, first off, the cake mix, I didn't press that in there enough. When I make my non-Weight Watcher version, I use about twice the amount of pumpkin or filling. And so you don't have to press it in that much. So on this one, since I only did about half the filling that I would typically do, and that's just to cut down on points, to be honest. So you have to use less sugar, less eggs, all that kind of stuff. But since I used less filling, I needed to push that cake mix down a little bit more, because as you can see, some of it's still pretty dry. Now my husband apparently likes that. But really that's not what that's supposed to look like. It's supposed to kind of get down into that filling and then crunch up a little bit better and not be so dry, but that's okay. That would be the one thing I would say to make sure you do, is just push it down a little bit more. How do you think the sugar-free cake mix tasted? Can you tell first off that that's sugar-free cake mix?
No.
Okay, so that's good to know. I tasted it too, and I actually couldn't tell that it was a sugar-free cake mix either. So that was kind of nice to know, because again, I've never tried a sugar-free cake mix, so that was a first. But yeah, I really couldn't tell either. So good way to shave a ton of points off of there with just the sugar-free cake mix. But anyway, I would call this a success. And yeah, definitely a lot less points than the original version that I typically make. So that just means I can eat more, I guess. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.